Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to the Muslim Career Guide with your host, Aliyah Qayyum. Today I am joined with Sister Ruisi. Jazakallah so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so do you mind giving a brief introduction, I guess, of who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Ruisi Liu, and I'm born in China, but like I lived in Ottawa my whole entire life. Ottawa is just like a capital of like Canada, and I reverted to Islam in my first year of university, and now I'm currently going into my third year in September.
Wow, so it's pretty recent.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
fairly
awesome.
recent.
Yeah, that's awesome, mashallah. So before we like to get into the interview, I like to do like a icebreaker question, so just rapid fire, really quick, silly questions, and you can give your most present answer.
Sure.
Perfect. So what is your favorite emoji?
Favorite emoji?
Yeah.
Probably like one of those like Asian emojis, like the one with the fish and it's like sticking on a pole. I don't know
Yeah.
if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it's cool.
Not sure if that one. I've never heard of that. I guess called an Asian emoji, but hey, it's pretty cool. But texting or calling?
I think calling general
Mm-hmm.
well, people I know, calling people I don't know, texting, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Favorite app?
That's a good question. Like which one I'm on the most or which one like I like the most?
I guess you can do either.
Hmm. I think probably like Instagram, unfortunately. Like we're all stuck on this, we're all part of this media.
Definitely, that's probably one for a lot of people. But favorite recent purchase?
Hmm. I recently bought like a suit on like Shine or like Shein. I don't know, one of those like
Mm-hmm.
knockoff websites. And I can't wait for it to come so I can look kind of professional. Just kidding.
Yeah,
You
that's cool. And then the last one is favorite book.
Favorite book. Uh, it would probably be like The Snow Child by Ewan Ivy is about this like Alaskan couple that like builds like a child out of this like snow and then it comes to life. And then that's pretty cool, I think.
Interesting. Never heard of them. That seems like a cool like type of story. But yeah, so before we jump now, sorry, I just lost my train of thought, but now we're done the icebreaker so we can jump straight into the interview. So first of all, I know you're a film studies student. So why and when did you choose to major in film studies?
Um, okay, well, in the beginning, I kind of had a dilemma going on. I remember being in high school, maybe in grade 11 or grade 12. One night, I was just lying down in bed, just looking at, the popcorn ceiling and just thinking, what am I gonna do with my life? Like, I suck at math. I can't do any science. Like, am I just gonna be homeless? Like, I wasn't thinking like that, but I'm thinking like, what can I do? And I'm thinking, okay, I can either go into something art related, like animation, or something like, storytelling like related, like filmmaking. And I was debating should I go into animation or film, animation or film. I debated upon that for a couple of weeks, and eventually I came to the conclusion I would rather be like working in film just because it's a little bit more hands-on and I get to interact with human beings. And while animating is fun, I believe that like animation might kill my passion for drawing and the actual like that kind of arts, because I feel like drawing for me is kind of like an escape. And if I make that an animation, like if I do that every single day like under someone else's bossing me around or something like that, I might
Mm-hmm.
eventually lose my passion for drawing and art in general, so it might like kill my passion somewhat. That's what I feared. And so but the thing is I applied to both like animation program in Concordia in Montreal, Canada. um and I also applied to Ryerson for film studies. And Ryerson's film studies is really competitive, so I didn't think I would get in. So I just like accepted the Montreal one. And then later, like a few weeks later, Ryerson was like, "Oh, you got in." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'm going to Toronto instead of Montreal."
Yeah, I mean that's super cool. I think it can kind of it's hard to sometimes choose a passion because it can be like since you're doing it every single day and then you're under stress, like is it going to be ruined? Is it something that's not I'm not going to enjoy anymore? And so it's good that you're able to like look at that and be like, hey, I don't think art I can do full time. I want to have that as my escape and that's my hobby on the side. So that's really cool.
Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
that's true. And you know that saying when people say like, um, if you love your job, you don't have to work a single day in your life. Well, I think there's actually some lie to that. I used to believe that, and I think like, oh, like if I love drawing and I do drawing every day, then I'm gonna be happy. But like, it's not exactly like 1 + 1 = 2. It's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
exactly that kind of linkage. There's always like some like bumps here and there, and it's gonna be hard sometimes to get through.
Exactly. Definitely makes sense. I now like from the Muslim career guide, I've learned that phrase is definitely not true. But what are some of the classes you had to take so far as a film studies major? You don't have to do all of them, but maybe like a few of your favorites.
A few of my favorites, ones that were most effective for me were the ones I've taken during second year, I think. But the thing is, because of COVID-19, only my first year was actually in person or actually sat in a classroom and, was taught by a professor. The rest
Okay.
were just on Zoom. So like I can argue a lot of like the Zoom ones were not as even effective as YouTube videos. Like YouTube has taught me more than a lot of professors have. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like the nature of film because it's not like, with film like Premiere Pro, using like those type of Adobe like softwares and stuff. Since everyone is already on a different level, you can't like teach an entire class how to use Premiere Pro because everyone's at a different level. So it's
Right.
kind of weird like that. But also at the same time, there's like I really like the pre-recorded videos, I guess. Like I really like sound. I think it was called Sound Tech or maybe something else. But anyways, it was like about how to like create sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But it's made in a really interesting way, so I kind of like it.
Wow. Like, I mean, you wouldn't think. I feel like I guess it makes sense, but also like all the little details that you have a class for, like sound and things like that. That's, I mean, really cool and interesting. And
Yeah, film
yeah.
is all about art of the illusion. Sorry, continue.
No, no, no. You go ahead. I just was like saying
Uh,
art, the illusion. Yeah.
yeah, like there's a lot of aspects of film. Like a lot of everyone goes into film thinking they want to be a director, like or like an actor or something like very very
Yeah.
basic. Like I that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, I want to be a director. The thing is like you can, of course you can. Nobody says you cannot. But everyone thinks like of a director of a certain way. Like there's like this image they have what a director looks like. If you
Right.
think like doctor, white lab coat. If you think of a like computer programmer, you think a guy just sitting at it like a cubicle.
Right.
Like when you think director, you think of a person, in Hollywood sitting in a director's chair. And while everyone thinks like that's the dream, like a lot of times, like when people go into film school, they realize that's like actually like not what they want. Even though they might want to direct like smaller projects, either for advertisements or like non-profit or even like like documentary kind of stuff, like even direct like very small shorts or for whatever reason, they might realize that directing is actually not as glamorized, not as like nice as they thought they would. And maybe
Yeah.
it's like sometimes like, directing doesn't give them as much control as like let's say editing, being the person behind like the ones using like puzzle pieces of the footages and piecing them together. Like maybe the director doesn't have that much storytelling control as opposed to what they thought they had. So there's always like subcategories of like where you want to go into. There's like cinematography, there is sound, there is like arts direction, there is like like setting up props and whatnot. There's like a lot. It's like a big field, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that happening because you like. I think the only thing when we watch a movie or show, you see the actors, and then you would think, oh yeah, there's a director and like a producer. But every like little detail, all the things that are making that show like amazing are the other people too, the editors, like the props and everything like that. And so I think that's interesting how people can start to have such a huge vision, and then they're like, wait a minute, I kind of like this and better than that, really big, I guess, position. What all of them have very important positions.
Yeah, of course. And a lot of people they think about film as being like, at the like there's like a whole entire world of like post production. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's the actual production people on set. And like to be honest, like I used to think like, oh, like this is what film is. You have to, be the one like be a production assistant, be a PA, and just run around giving like donuts and coffees to like all the directors, whatever,
Yeah.
or be the person holding like a giant boom pole and like running after the actors or something like that, or the person with the walkie-talkie walking around set. And while like
Yeah.
you can do that, there's also an entire world of like, post-production things like outside, there's a whole different like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, definitely. And as a university student, have you found that you get a lot of hands-on experience?
Well, to be honest, like since COVID, it's really hard for me to say because like technically I've only had like kind of like 1 year of like,
Mm-hmm.
in-person film school. And that 1 year was like the hands-on part, I would kind of it would be debatable. What
Right.
do you mean by hands-on?
Hands-on just being able to like actually, I guess, almost feel what the job would be like. So if whether industry you want to go in part of the film studies, Are you able to like do the editing, like you said, maybe set up props and things like that?
I don't think so. To be honest, I don't think film school actually gives you that kind of experience. No matter how hands-on they want it to be, the best way to be hands-on is to actually volunteer and to go out of your way to
Mm,
find like, sets around your city or around your area. There's always like face I used to be living in Ottawa, and there used to be a Facebook group called Ottawa Filmmakers, and I would just go like and then see whoever needs like a production assistant, and I would
right.
just, run around grabbing coffee for people kind of thing. And also, but meanwhile, you're also learning a lot of stuff too.
Mhm.
So I feel like that is the most hands-on way to actually like, see what it's like. And then a lot of times, like being on set, one of the biggest things is, you kind of like judge people, like not like that, but like
Mhm.
internally, you're
Yeah.
seeing like, wow, like, this person is really, they're doing it really well, and this person is really disorganized. Like for one of the film shoots I was helping out on, they wanted me to like grab like, I don't know, like if they forgot a prop and they wanted me to run to the store to like buy something real quick. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy something real quick. I go there and I buy exactly what they tell me. And then, well, I wasn't sure. It was like either a coat or like a jacket. I can't remember which one they asked me to, because like they just told me, and then they didn't like give me any information like how they wanted
Right.
to, so very, very like things like that. Like so, and then I bring the coat back and they're like, oh, this is the wrong one. I'm like, well, you didn't specify, and then
Right.
they're like, oh yeah, I didn't specify. And I'm like, bruh, like it's okay, like, it's not my film, whatever, that's their mistake.
Right.
But also at the same time, you kind of learn like you learn through mistakes, which is really good. And you can kind of
Mhm.
see like, who is good at it, who is not good at it, and try to always like one up yourself, like,
Yeah.
and in terms of hands-on, like the school, like okay, for Ryerson, it might be different for other different film schools, but Ryerson is supposed to be kind of like a college or like university style of like film school. There is, film schools in Ottawa, like Carleton Film, that have more of a theory based, meaning it's just in class and they're just watching movies and dissecting the meaning behind it, the metaphors, the themes, the colors, and whatnot. But Ryerson, the idea is you're supposed to be more hands-on than the average university film school. And they have certain like services, like there's something called the cage, which is kind of like this basement in Ryerson where you can rent out equipments, and then you can go down, bring your student card, and then you can get a tripod, you can get like a camera, for a day, and then you can use that and run around and film stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's the option doing that, but like the true hands-on part, um like it really just comes from doing things outside of school.
Right. No, definitely makes sense. Like, and I know it's interesting how like different schools provide different things. So some schools have theory, and some schools have like you're more hands-on. And also like volunteer is such an interesting thing. Like a lot of people encourage us to volunteer, but sometimes we'll be like, no. But you get a feel of the chaos on set. You get a feel of like what it's actually like to be under pressure, under a time limit. Because I'm sure a lot of the film industry has to be under like time limits and things like that. So you get that feel and you get that to know like, will I really like this? Am I going to enjoy this, or is this something maybe I want to like enter a different space? So that's definitely really cool.
Yeah, of course, because especially in first year film, like if you think like, because a lot of people, they kind of don't volunteer. They kind of go into film school thinking that's where they're gonna get most of their experiences. And what happens is like, you get like the same people filming their same like two friends and kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay, like,
Yeah.
and like, the thing is like you learn more if you just kind of like go outside of like what you're used to. Because like whenever it's a student project, maybe we do like 3 short films per semester, maybe like 5 minutes each. And then what happens is, like this is what I just do, and this is what everyone else does. Like they just call up their friends, see like, hey, are you free on this day? Like, can you come over to my house? We can like shoot like a scene in my bedroom. Like I literally didn't do that, because we don't have like a budget, we don't have that funding or
Yeah.
whatever. But like when you kind of like volunteer on sets that have that kind of budget and have that kind of funding, the first thing you're gonna realize is how organized it is. You're gonna see like the fact that they're sending me emails and like of like the shooting dates, from everything from like, on the paper there's like the weather on that day, and like the times, and all the people and the list of people, and like what you should bring, and what time is like break time, what time it's like the whole day is entirely scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
And by like, seeing what other people are doing, you learn a lot more that way, I believe.
100%, definitely. And what area of the film industry are you interested in? Because we talked about how there's a lot of areas and spaces. So what are you interested in pursuing, at least at the moment?
To be honest, like that's really hard to say, because right now I'm not really like sure about that. Like I'm
Yeah.
still kind of like looking around, see what I can do. I think anything that has like an active role in like either creating something, I think that's where I would like to go into. Whether that's like either writing or something, but like probably not. But I'm
Hmm.
thinking like maybe even like editing or like sound stuff because you would think like sound is kind of like boring, like who wants to do sound, right? But the thing is,
Yeah.
sound people could they get like paid a lot, right? And like obviously money's like not that important, but the thing is also the kind of creativity they have behind that, like in their own room they're like a DJ, they're
Yeah.
like every sound, like for example look at the behind the scenes for things like what's that dinosaur movie called, Jurassic Park or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can see that a lot of the sounds of the dinosaurs were made by like them like recording their own dogs like huffing and puffing and
Wow.
panting and stuff, and then mixing it in a computer and then making it sound like a dragon and putting a lot of reverb and echo onto it until you can hear kind of like an echo fade. And then you can also like do the kind of like ambient stuff by making like let's say you want to do like a 3D space, like let's say the dragon moves from the left of the screen to the right or whatever. You can also make the sound visually go from the left of the screen to the right of the ear, or like from the
Wow.
speaker. There's like a lot of things that you can figure out and go into.
Yeah, I mean, like each space has so many layers to it. Like that's so cool. And how did you decide that Ryerson was the best choice for you?
I guess it's just like Ryerson's film school reputation is pretty good.
Hmm.
Also, it's not too far away from Ottawa. It's 5 hours away. I guess it's kind of far, but it's not that bad. And to be honest, like because Ottawa's film industry is a little bit dead, like there isn't much going on there because it's Ottawa. And generally, I think like in Canada, the most active place is Toronto and Vancouver. And yeah, for in terms of like media and film, and it has a lot more opportunities in Toronto than like let's say like Manitoba, or, like I don't know. I'm sure there is like places, other places in Canada,
Yeah.
but I'm just yeah. In Ryerson, it's downtown Toronto, so that's like a really good location. One of the
Mhm.
reasons I think I pick Ryerson is because of like the possible like networking and like the opportunities that I can get because being in a place with a lot of people, naturally you learn more, whether it's even film
Exactly.
industry people or just people that you meet every single day.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%, definitely that makes sense. You're surrounded with people that like love what you're doing, and you're in a city that like I know Toronto has a really good film industry, and a lot of things happen over there too. And so just like being surrounded by that gives you the motivation too. Like I think motivation is extremely important when sometimes you're feeling down because sometimes you can lack that. Mhm. And
Mhm.
what are ways? I know you mentioned that you volunteer, but what are other ways that you're able to practice your craft and creating film outside of school?
Hmm. Well, I guess other than volunteer, oh yeah, another big thing is attend seminars. So like naturally, universities sometimes they send out email seminars.
Hmm.
Like my faculty is called FCAD, which means Faculty of Communications and Design. They'll just send out like Zoom, like before COVID, there would be like in-person things where you can go inside and you sit down and you learn. It
Hmm.
doesn't even have to be film related. It can be literally anything like career related. There's maybe some alumni talks where you see people who graduated and they're working in, I don't know, they just publish a children's book on like rabbits or something, and you want to learn about who they
Yeah.
are and so you have to attend as many seminars as possible, I think, especially because they're all free. And why not get like the opportunity to talk to these people. And like it's weird because in our entire life, like we always have like a sense of imposter syndrome. We think, oh, we're
Yeah.
not good enough to actually like ever become like that expert. When you look at these like Zoom seminars and these people are talking about how they, crowdfunded to produce a $1 million like budget type of like film. I'm like, bro, like, I'm filming like, in my backyard. Like, what is going on? How do I even get to that level?
Yeah.
And one of the big things is like we think like these people are kind of like giant titans and we can't reach
Hmm.
them, but in reality we can. We can just like send them an email. And the
Yeah.
thing is, people love to talk about themselves, right? So people,
Yeah.
you can just like send it to like let's say someone who like a show that you liked or a YouTube thing that you enjoyed or whatever, a documentary, a mini series, or anybody. You send them an email and be like, I really like the work I did. Would it be possible to like schedule like a phone call? Kind of like what you did with me, I guess. Like if that
Yeah.
counts, like just email them, reach out, and eventually they'll like always reply, or like add them on LinkedIn and then instant message them and be like, hey, like during the seminar, I really like the fact that you talked about women in the like the media industry, how we're like kind of like basically like we're kind of like muffled by, you know, white oppression and by like white men in Hollywood. How do we, you know, like you can just like talk about like anything with these people, and most of the time they will reply
Yeah.
because they do want to help out. That's why they're in the seminar in the first place. That's why they're, you know, and you can even do cold emailings, like, you know, reach out to someone that you don't even know, but you like their film, and then, you know, ask them about the process and ask them if they have any tips for you. And then that's how you learn, just talking around, doing your research, watch a lot of films, I guess, or videos, or even short films on YouTube channels like Leto or any like small like things like that. And yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I think we kind of shy away from talking to people and going to, and we also like pass up on a lot of resources, especially universities. I'm not in university yet, but I do know they've got a lot of resources for the students. So taking advantage of that, taking advantage of the guests that come are just so important because you never know what piece of advice someone could give you or what someone could tell you could really change your whole perception of something. So it is really important to involve yourself in that sort of stuff and that sort of seminars, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, and a big thing about that is that people tend to forget that anything. Okay, so film is Bachelor of Fine Arts, okay,
Right.
or like any like Bachelor of Fine Arts is not the same as Bachelor of Arts. Bachelor of Arts is like psychology and stuff like that. Bachelor of Fine Arts, that's like more artistic stuff, and
Mhm.
anything with like Bachelor of Fine Arts type of degrees, it's non-linear. The progress is non-linear. Anything that's like you know, normally like business, you have to like do step by step. You have to first get into co-op, then you do that, and then you do that.
Mhm.
um there's literally people like in my program, I'm kind of jealous of them, but they literally like, you know, have accomplished so much, and it's
Yeah.
because they started in high school. And I thought like you can't even make movies and stuff, films or whatever, and that kind of, you know, they're like making music videos for like, these like, you know, basically famous people. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you even get to that? Like in high school, I was just like, I don't know, sleeping all the time. And like the way they did it is just like, you know, they knew it's non-linear. They did that kind of like research. They kind of like a, you know, head start. But of course, like there's no such thing as like a true head start. Other people's success doesn't make yours any less. So you can
Mhm.
just kind of like, you know, take inspiration from them, and don't get discouraged from seeing how many people are quote unquote above you, because that doesn't make you any smaller at all. Just
Right.
because other people are above you, you're still exactly where you are. So you haven't lost anything. That's something
Mhm.
I struggle to kind of like accept sometimes, because sometimes, you know, things like Instagram or Facebook, you see people, they're like working on sets, they're like doing this, doing that. They're like, hey, I just did this, hey, I just did that. Look at my new film. I just won an award at this place, that place. And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't won any awards yet. Will I ever even, is this even the right program for me? But
Yeah.
of course, it's okay to doubt and stuff like that, as long as we can, you know, like bounce back up. So it's just non-linear. You can start anything, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think everyone has those thoughts when they see someone, you want to be happy for that person, but sometimes we do. Like we look at them and we're like, why am I not there? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do this? It's like I think we need to start understanding that instead of being jealous, or not even jealous, but sometimes pushing ourselves down, just find motivation from people. Find motivation like, oh shoot, they did that. Maybe connect with them and ask them what they did, and maybe you can take inspiration from that. So it's definitely really cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Zaka, her so sister Rita, for joining us today. So pretty much the last question that we ask is, what is one piece of advice that you can give to someone who wants to join or become a film studies student and pursue a career in film studies?
Okay, so just one thing that they should know is that like you don't need to go to film school to do film, but you just have to, like, film school keeps you driven. It keeps you in the
Mm,
right mindset, if that makes sense. You
right.
know what I mean? Like, let's say you want to write a book, you want to write a story, okay? You can start that on your own. But if you don't have like a network of other writers around you, or even editors, or even someone like looking, like, you know, doing checkups through your writing, and telling you like, oh, you should change this, you should do this, you should do that. It's really easy to get discouraged and lose your motivation and then get
Yeah.
distracted. So the only reason like to go to film school, well, not the only reason, but one of the main reason is so you can be around the same people that will encourage you, and be around the people to make sure that you don't lose focus. However, many people in the film industry have never even been to film school. So do not think that it's a necessary thing to go to film school to work in the film industry. You can start already by just volunteering on sets. But the thing is, film school teaches you a little bit like more like what you, it just basically shows you where you want to go, if anything.
Right. No, definitely. Yeah, that's some awesome advice. It kind of can be like for all honestly any career. Just get an idea of where you can go, but also it's not always a requirement. So thank you so much for that piece of advice, and thank you so much for taking the time for this interview. Where can everyone find you and just learn more about you?
All right, so I have a YouTube account called Ruisiology. It's just my name plus ology at the end, kind of like psychology or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
Ruisiology. It's spelled like Ruisi ology, Ology. And I also have an Instagram, which is just my name, Ruisi.liu. And on my YouTube, I post a lot of like Islamic stories and just generally like things about being a revert and maybe vlogs, maybe lessons, maybe just chats here and there. So yeah, be sure to check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll leave the links in the description box down below along with SunnahCamp links, and inshallah, we will see you guys all next Thursday. Assalamu alaikum.